Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, our new episode of Towers and Gods is going to be streamed live. We're so excited to be back with weekly episodes. We hope to see you there. Tower of God and side characters. I feel like that sort of discussion and combining those two terms, it's always been a heated topic of discussion in the community because Tower of God has a lot of them. Tower of God features so many characters, and it's one of the reasons I fell in love with this story. I was like, I love it. I always love when they have so many characters in a story, and you want to know all their names, you want to know everything about them, and even though there are so many, they all get screen time, and they all seem like they are relatively still important to the story. I love it. And I feel like lately, and this isn't the first time I've said this isn't a surprise, it's something that Tower of God has lacked. And I think SIU is taking steps to fix it, but I want to discuss whether those steps are the proper steps to take. Because in the newest episode of Tower of God, White was defeated. White's done, as far as I know. I mean, maybe, we'll find out that Albelda took control and he's barely hanging on. I doubt it though. I think White could be gone. It seemed like Bomb absorbed his power, but the interesting thing about this situation is that apparently Bomb wasn't the only one who absorbed his power. Because apparently now Khun and Rak, who were there and helped defeat him at the very end, they seemed to also absorb some of White's power. I don't know if it means they shared the souls, or if it was just like White's power. We don't really know. The firefish, Khun's firefish, is the main reason this was even possible, because of how it helped collect souls earlier in the arc. And, at first I was just really happy. I was like, yes, finally, Khun and Rak, getting some more screen time and an excuse to give them strength. But the more I thought about it, the more I became a little concerned about this, because I love power-ups. I love it when characters get stronger, but I always like it when I feel like those power-ups are earned. I feel like they trained for it, they worked hard for it. Even Bomb, who's like the king of power-ups, I feel like for the most part, he's at least present for the action, he works hard, and then something happens, or he obtains something, Even like fighting Joaquin, he was so adamant about continuing to fight Joaquin on the Hell Train that Albelda was like, yo, look at this kid, he's special, and then helped him out. It wasn't like he was just given this power out of nowhere, and I feel like most of Bomb's power-ups you could maybe make that argument. But with Khun and Rak, they helped at the very end, but with Khun, he was just using his firefish, and that's a firefish that he was just given because he happened to be, almost killed by Rachel. And with Rak, he just threw a spear, and, it's still impressive, it's cool, but now they're being rewarded with this massive power-up, kind of out of the blue. Like, I don't even know if it fits narratively, like Khun and Rak receiving a White power-up. I'm not sure, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just made me question it. It's made me be like, think about it. It's made me think about how this is being handled, and it's just hard for me to imagine, Khun and Rak being stronger because of White. It's just a little bit strange to me. And when I was doing the reaction, I mentioned, Khun and Rak are now ranker level, and I kind of said it as a joke, but I was also half being serious because they very well could be, and I know some people were saying they're not, some people said they could be. I'd be surprised if Khun and Rak couldn't at least clash with rankers at this point because they received power from a ranker. Like, White was apparently dispersed. He was split up into power pieces or whatever, and they just obtained power from a high ranker, one of the strongest beings in the tower. I'd be surprised if they weren't at least closer, like a lot closer to ranker level. But the concept is fine. So back to side characters. And it's funny because I'm talking about Khun and Rak, and maybe you didn't even notice, as if they were side characters, and that's exactly my problem, right? And I think it was necessary for the Nest because the Nest was all about this giant ranker battle, So it's hard to include characters like Khun and Rak, but I feel like as the story has continued, like even midway through season 2, even then, I feel like side characters in general were getting less and less screen time. In season 3, I don't even consider Khun to be like a main character in season 3. Let's not even get to Rak, right? I mean, Rak is in a league of his own as far as side character nature goes. I used to consider Rak like one of the main characters of Tower of God, and at this point, he really is just a side character. So them receiving this power-up, it does make me think, okay, maybe their status will be elevated. Of course, Khun's still a main character, but now Rak, maybe I'll consider Rak a main character again, that'd be kinda cool. So that's why I'm torn. I like the fact that they got focus, and I like the fact that this could lead to them getting more screen time and doing more things, but as long as it feels earned, as long as it's not like, wow, now I'm so strong, and you know, now I can fight these people. It's like, I want it to feel natural, and I want it to make sense narratively. So again, I don't have an opinion on it yet, but those are just my thoughts. I'm basically just spilling my thoughts to you all about this whole thing. But as far as other side characters go, I think this is the main issue, right? I love the side characters in Tower of God. If you know me, I freak out every time we get a side character fight, or someone from the past shows up again. I mean, look at Marco Asensio, you know? Marco Asensio is not at all required for Tower of God. He's the definition of a minor character or a side character, but dude, when he showed up, it was freaking sick. And same thing for like characters like Ron, you know, or Nobik, or Dan, or Beta, or Shia, you know, that whole team, or Ghost from season 1, or, you know, whoever else you want to count as a side character. I just love it, man. Jordan, you know, like there's so many characters that are so cool, and they're not at all, like, super important to the plot or anything. And I feel like those characters that had moments, like Ron had a bunch of amazing fights, you know? Not to mention a knock, that's a whole other discussion. Or Dan, who had such an intriguing storyline with his legs, and Rachel. Nobik, you know, Nobik was such a cool character. We haven't seen them since the Name Hunt Station. And SIU does like to do this. He's very patient with his character reveals and bringing back characters, and there is something very hype about that. I'm not saying we have to constantly see them, but I do feel like when we just don't get anything from these characters for so long, or when they do show up, like a knock, it's like 2 panels and they're gone. You know, a knock hasn't done something since the workshop battle. We haven't seen Ron or Nobik or even heard of them. Like, their names weren't even mentioned since Name Hunt Station. You know, that's like half the story ago. And again, SIU is a patient author, you know, he brought back Ghost after not seeing him since season 1, you know, so I'm not saying we're never gonna see Ron again. I'm not saying that at all. But all I'm saying is that I just think, as far as side characters go, if we're gonna focus so much on Bomb or so much on these rankers at the expense of characters that were once semi-main characters, like major characters like Hots and, you know, other characters like that, a knock, you know, I'm not sure if that's necessarily a good trade. Maybe after the Nest we'll cut back to the regulars, but season 3 has been very ranker focused, and it makes me wonder, okay, so how do we move forward from here? Is the story just permanently going to be ranker focused now, you know? Or what's gonna happen, you know? Like, the Khun and Rak power-up makes it so that they can still sort of stick with Bomb, maybe? But what about Hots, you know? He has the sword. What about Shibisu? I don't know, like, it's just all these other characters, their relevance is dwindling by the arc, because Bomb's relevance is growing by the arc. It used to be that Bomb was definitely the main character, but, you know, he stood up here while everyone else was, like, right here. Now Bomb is way up here, and everyone else feels way down below him. And I know that's the point. He's an irregular, he's the focus, I'm totally cool with that. But it does make me sad, because the side characters of Tower of God are what drew me in. And that's not to say there aren't any side character moments, because season 3 did introduce a bunch of new characters, but that's kind of my point too. I love all these characters, but as long as all of them can still have some kind of relevance to some extent, you know, SIU is doing a good job, but it makes me just worried, and I just miss it. I miss seeing Wangnan. You know, Wangnan was a main character, arguably on the same level as Bomb and Khun. And I know SIU has drawn the side story. He drew, you know, the one little mini chapter thing, and he said he wanted to do more, but I don't think he's released any more. And I don't know, man, seeing those characters, it just does something to me, and I really miss it. And I think if SIU maybe, I don't want to say he should do this or should do that, it really is just me expressing some minor worries that I have, and maybe expressing some hopes. Maybe after this arc, we can cut back to these other regulars that used to be major characters, but now feel like super minor characters. Or like Iwa, you know, Iwa has been captured or poisoned or whatever, and I hope we don't just not see Iwa for like arcs and arcs and arcs into the future and years, you know? Because Iwa was like a major character, and it just feels like more and more of these major characters are becoming side characters and minor characters, like Rak and Khun. Now, Rak and Khun were kind of saved by this recent chapter, but what about these other characters, you know? Are they going to suffer the same fate? I don't know. I trust SIU, obviously. He's an amazing author. I'm not at all here to criticize, but it's just my hopes, my wants, and a little bit of my fears, and just sharing them with you guys because I'm curious if you think the same way. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video and my thoughts. Leave a like if you did, And yeah, Towers and Gods is our prequel story. If you don't know what it is, it's D&D plus Tower of God. You know, since the first episode, we've solved a lot of problems. The audio and the video are so much better, we feature so much more artwork, and the layout has improved quite a bit. So if you want to join us, we're gonna go live tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Time with weekly episodes starting tomorrow. It's so much fun, and it'd be awesome if you could join us. And with that being said, I will see you in the next Tower of God discussion video. Take care.